Winners lose more than losers lose. This is message 551 in day 18 in the New Year Resolution Challenge, and this message is dedicated to the rambunctious and copious Alan Zwern. I mentioned W. Clement Stone in yesterday's message, and I got a call from Alan saying he actually met W. Clement Stone back in the 60s. Copiousness means a ready and overflowing storehouse. Alan has a copious amount of stories like that. I'm always amazed by the names he remembers. Alan Zwern, you are a legend. Well, today's message is about another legend, Chuck Norris. Chuck is still kicking at 84 years old. See what I did there? Chuck Norris has 3 black belts. He served in the Air Force and has reached mythic proportions similar to the Dos Equis man. Some of my favorite Chuck Norris memes are, Chuck Norris doesn't read books. He stares them down until he gets the information he wants. Another is, time waits for no man unless that man is Chuck Norris. And finally, if you spell Chuck Norris in Scrabble, you win forever. Well, today's message is a story about Chuck, from Chuck, in his book, The Secret Power Within. It is a great illustration of how it's great to be a loser. I know it sounds blasphemous to use the word loser in reference to Chuck Norris, but I think you'll get the point. We've talked about the Champion's Creed before in the principle that winners lose more than losers lose. Well, the principle is typically applied to sports and sometimes sales and prospecting, but it applies to relationships as well. And here's the story that Chuck tells that illustrates this. Not long ago, after a day of filming my television series, I went alone to a small Texas bar for a cold beer. As I sat in a corner booth, savoring my drink, a large man towered over me and said with an edge to his voice that I was sitting in his booth. I didn't like his tone or his implicit threat, but I said nothing and moved to another booth. A few minutes later, though, the big fellow headed back in my direction. Here it comes, I thought, a local tough guy out to make a name for himself by taking on Chuck Norris in a fight. Well, when he arrived at my new booth, he looked directly at me. "You're Chuck Norris," he said. I nodded. "You could have whipped my butt back there a few minutes ago," he said. "Why didn't you?" "What would that have proved?" I asked. He thought that over for a moment and then offered me his hand. "No hard feelings," he said. "None," I said, and shook his hand. I had avoided confrontation and made a friend. I won by losing. No one likes losing, especially when it is losing face, losing reputation, or losing ego. Ego is the enemy, as the Stoics put it. You can win by losing.